the first five words of the Bible are really, really important words. And if you believe them to be true, then I would say stewardship is not optional. And those words are, in the beginning, God created. If that's true, then that means we are all creation of the created.
We are all now subjects
100%.
of the Creator.
That's exactly right. And that means that He will entrust things to us that we are to steward and to manage, because we didn't create it all. He created it, and He created us. So what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? And I believe, and I talk about it all the time, I believe that God is in the process of redeeming those that He created, calling us back into a relationship with Him as a follower of Jesus. That means I believe that Jesus is the way. Like, were it not for Jesus, it wouldn't be possible. Because of Jesus, it is possible for the created to have relationship with the Creator. And as someone who has been brought into a relationship with God through Jesus, then I believe the only, I would say, obvious response then is, okay, what do I do with what it is that you have put in my hands? So that includes my finances, for sure. But it also includes my...
not exclusive.
Yeah, it includes my family, and it includes my time. It does include my occupation. It includes my health, like this, the body that He's given me. It encompasses all of life. And I think as followers of Jesus, I'm going to come back to that over and over again, because there is a watching world. And when the world observes us stewarding what it is that the Lord has entrusted to us in a way that puts the beauty in the gospel on display, then they get to go, there's something different about how you're handling your money, how you're raising your family, how you go about your job, how you take care of yourself physically. Like, what's that about? Oh, well, I'm not my own. Like, I was created by a loving Creator, and I'm in relationship with Him because of Jesus. And I want to manage what it is that I've been entrusted with in a way that honors Him and points other people to Him. Like, that's the big idea behind the stewardship of life. And so for pastors in particular who may have reputations, and sometimes it's fair, like some people have grown up in churches where I just really think pastors abused how they talked about money and talked about the tithe, and weren't biblical, and the health, wealth, prosperity stuff that's out there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, has really sabotaged what I think is the true biblical teaching on generosity, on stewardship, and that sort of thing. And so I think when you can bring it up more and go, no, like, we can talk about finances. That is a piece, but that's not the only piece. Let's talk about the whole thing. I have found that people who are maybe a little skeptical of, all right, we made the joke at the beginning. All right, well, he's going to talk about, tithing or whatever. I think it allows people to lean in a little bit more. And I think maybe that's part of what you've experienced when you say, I appreciate how you guys talk about it at the church. Even as a finance guy, I think what you appreciated about it is it includes finance, but we're not just talking about finance.
Right.
And that allows people to lean in, to go, okay, I actually want to examine this across all the areas of my life. Because there could be a lot of people, and there are a lot of people, who steward their finances well, but you start talking about the other stuff, and they're going,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and I think that's what is it, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit? It's not me. I'm not convicting anybody or anything like that. Like, what's the Holy Spirit going? That's a part of your life that I still want to shape to put the beauty of the gospel on display. That's what I want to shape as you continue to grow as a disciple of Jesus. So that's the overarching thought for me behind, the stewardship of life.
I love the way you just broke that out.
Yeah.
And I think of so many correlating examples of that. And you actually kind of threw one out that I was going to say it's very easy, and this is kind of the path that I can lean towards too much, and has been consistently revealed to me, especially as of late, is you can be so shrewd and diligent and act as a good steward of some areas, and feel like you're okay, overall, when in reality you're disregarding all of the others. And I think about there's a lot of different versions of like the wheel of the different spokes of your life. You have like the faith, family, fitness, finances. You have, Ramsey has his wheel around like business and entre leadership, and you have Ziegler has his stuff. Like you have all these different spokes on the wheel. And if any of those spokes, understanding that there's never a perfect balance, right? The wheel's always a little bit lopsided. Sometimes it looks more like an eclair, I guess. Just thinking of like an example versus a round donut, you know?
You're right.
Like it can be lopsided. I think that a lot of times, and I've seen this maybe with folks that don't necessarily have a faith background or a strong faith background in the money side, is they can feel like they've got it under control because they feel like they have control over one aspect. And I know me, like I tend towards that side. Is like, oh, I can control this. I can be in control. I can have a perfect plan, and I can have all the details laid out, and, essentially removing the faith element of how to act, which is not great. We know that from experience and how that plans out. But we can do that and then disregard everything else. And I think for a lot of folks, especially with, we'll just say high achieving employees or business owners, well, I'm going to work and make more money, but I disregard my family or my health, or I disregard my faith, or I disregard my friends. Like there's that in today's society, especially, I feel like there's more of that mindset and way of life because, I mean, just go back to social media and all that. Everything's a highlight reel. And everything is, I actually was listening to a podcast this morning. John Christ was with Dave Ramsey. And John said, it's not keeping up with the Joneses. The Joneses are now following you.
Right on.
And I think that fuels more of this way of life that is so rampant today of, well, I'm just going to focus on this one thing and have control and disregard everything. Not blatantly, but by default, focusing here does that. And then you have it on the other side is, well, I'm going to be so pious and not focus on money and just focus on living for today and the enjoyment of today, and actually disregarding the other side where, I wouldn't necessarily say God is calling you to be broke. Right. I think he's calling us to discipline and diligence, and that's part of the management and the stewardship. And I'm going to probably take this way out of context, but going back to Genesis, right? The creation mandate, be fruitful and multiply, right? Have dominion. To me, there's a relation there of, along with everything else from Genesis 2 until the end of Revelation, where we see that is, how are you being that steward to fulfill that mandate? You can take everything to the nth degree and turn it into a sin or turn it into the wrong way of life. But I don't know, just throwing that out there. So I feel like there's a lot of that today where we can get so focused on one and disregard everything else.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I have that conversation with people. I have that conversation. I mean, same, my own life. I think that there should be the constant evaluation, not beating yourself up, but just like, again, if you're a follower of Jesus, the Spirit of God that resides in you is really kind and gracious to point out the things that, hey, allow me to keep changing this in you. And the motivation for that isn't to earn anything from God or he'll love you more, like you more. It is, though, that what he has already done for you in giving you Jesus. It's like, okay, like, Lord, you've given me Jesus. Like, what else? Like, just, I want to manage and steward what it is that you have, what it is that you've given to me. And it's been interesting, man, the journey I've been on with people. When we started Summit Church, and I talked about this a lot, there was a season I remember there was a trainer from a gym here in town that started attending our church. And I met him and talked with him, and I said, what brings you to this church? And He said, I have a couple of clients. I'm a personal trainer, and I have a couple of clients that go to church here. I go, oh, okay. And he said, as a trainer, when I sit down and talk with somebody, I was like, what are your goals and why, what's your why? Why are you here? Mm-hmm. And the people that go to your church have been talking. They're all saying the same thing to me. They want to get healthy because they want to steward their body in such a way that it'll put the power of the gospel on display for those that they're around and doing life with. I was like, huh. And he said, and when they started talking, like he said, I hadn't heard people come in and talk like that before. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious as to talk to me more about this stewardship of life principle.
Yeah.
And and then I saw another couple, and, I could tell that they were getting healthier, a husband and a wife. And, I said, hey, you guys you're looking great. And, the husband said, I've lost 35 pounds. And the wife said, I've lost 20 pounds. I was like, really? I was like, well, that's great. And they both said, we've never been at a church where there was a tie to us taking care of ourselves physically is a part of discipleship. It's a part of stewardship. It's a part of managing what the Lord has entrusted to us, and he's entrusted to us this body. And while this body is on this earth, it is here to make much of Jesus. And so I want to take care of it to be around as long as possible. But you also wouldn't imagine how many people are asking me about it, and I'm able to say, this is my motivation. This is my why. I mean, that's what I mean by it. It touches every area of life. So,
yeah,
including your finances. But
yeah, getting to put that on display as that really that first impression for people.
Yep.
So I'm involved with some fitness space in town.
Yeah.
I'm not the most fit, but we have improved substantially over the past 4.5 years. And I have a lot of friends that are very focused on that.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of the discipline culture versus motivation culture, all those things.
Yeah.
And tying this in with church to where I'm going, like you see a lot of pastors on stage, online, on YouTube, things like that these days, where it's very evident they work out and those kind of things.
Yeah.
I wonder with that, like I'm around this culture of just discipline, like, no leeway.
Yeah.
In some cases, maybe a little bit lacking grace on the balance of different seasons and stages of life. I wonder how that can play into, or how that should relate to this concept of stewardship of life, when there are very clear differences in that, like, first impression. Like, you look at somebody, you can see, oh, this person's committed to this, they're committed to that, those kind of things.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making perfect sense with where I want to go with this, but I wonder how those two things you can hold in balance of, how am I a good steward without losing that perspective of grace. Maybe it's the balance of grace and truth is what it really is, right?
Sure.